Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a good day.
Hello. Speak to me before entering warfare system.
Welcome, friend.
Got a little bit of cleanup to do real quick before I actually get started. Hope everybody's having a good day. Kind of overslept myself this morning. Supposed to start about 2 hours ago, but apparently I didn't wake up. Threw all 5 alarm clocks.
We raise spying forces.
Just going to train my horse on all my guys and then knock out some crafting writs and get my research started, and then I'll get started on my sorc.
We raise spying forces.
We need an edge in this fight.
We raise spying forces.
Test. problem. Oh, that's annoying as shit.
Another day, another delivery. Going to have to shift all these if more supplies come in.
We raise fine forces.
Ooh, I need more blessed thistle. That sucks. Alright, so we'll hold off on that one. I apparently need to do some farming.
Sure, the need. Made that yourself, did you? Well done.
I'm gonna have to change that binding for Discord. Nothing like trying to sprint and then having pop up and you can't lose control of everything. Alright. Let's see here. I was in Vardenfell. See how many times I die in the first 10 minutes of combat. That's what happens when you take a week off. You can't do crap. this looks like it's going to be a maze. Yay. Why do you think it's confusing? I think it's a little more complex than some other MMOs, but, well, yeah. Starting out can be a little bit overwhelming. It does not do a good job of stepping you through the mechanics. Is there something specific you're struggling with? The big thing that I struggled with was the fact that the class doesn't really mean anything. It does, but it doesn't, because, you know, like in most MMOs, non-Elder Scrolls based, you pick a class, let's say a paladin, and then by default that guy's going to wear heavy armor and, you know, use a sword and board, or maybe a two-handed sword. And he's going to be stamina based and maybe have some magic abilities to do buffs or shields or whatever. Elder Scrolls is completely different. Any class can do anything, more or less. So depending on any class you pick, you can either build them as a stamina-based class or a magicka-based class. And with that, you have multiple options to choose from as you go down that path. Whereas in other games, if you decide to play a sorcerer and decide to use a two-handed sword or a dagger or whatever and do stamina attacks, you're basically gimping yourself. In this game, that's not the case. So, let me see here. Give me 1 second, and I will shoot you a link to a guide that I'm using for my Sorc build. That's the build I'm doing. Basically, when you start digging through your skills, as you level, you're going to get skill points. As you collect the sky shards, you'll collect skill points. For every 3 sky shards, you get a skill point. Doing storyline missions, you get a skill point. Total number of skill points, I don't know. I hear it's somewhere like in the 400s. Not really sure. But when you start out the game, you have your 3 class skills based on whatever class you picked, which is the one thing that makes the class unique. And then as you experience other things, like you use a weapon, right? You get skill lines for the weapon type that you use: two-handed, one-handed, destro staff, restore staff, etc. And each of those has its own abilities, and every ability, once you get it to max level 4, then you can then morph it into a enhanced ability, I guess. So like, for example, Wall of Elements can be morphed into one of 2 different abilities. That is, to me, the most confusing part, is you have, you know, all these different skill lines that you can put skills into, but at the end of the day, you have 5 buttons. You have 5 abilities you can actually use. So where do you put those points? How do you best use them? And I think it becomes a lot easier once you hit 15 and get your second skill bar. And you see I have 2, and with that skill bar there's a specific weapon that is equipped. So like if you go to the character screen, or inventory, sorry, you can see I have 2 sets of weapons, and you can set poisons on each one. And basically what you do once you get to 15 is you set up a unique setup, potentially, or just an enhanced setup from one bar to the next. So in my case, I'm doing fire staff on one, and on the other one I'm doing a lightning staff. But like for example, on my Ishtar, who is my healing warden, I've been mostly running him as a mixture of healing and damage, and so I have one bar that is set up entirely for healing, and my secondary bar is set up for a mixture of healing and DPS. Is that helping make more sense, or am I just confusing you? It's not as cut and dry from a, build, let me play this character kind of thing as other MMOs are. It is more complex, but what I have found is once I started to understand it, I really enjoy it. There's a couple different sites I've used that have character builds. The one I linked is one of them, and that's a streamer. I got another one that's a streamer I'll post for you. Let me find it here. So this is Deltia's Gaming. He's another streamer that's been playing this for a while. He used to play WoW, I believe. His guides are pretty good. And I can't vouch for the validity of any of these guides because I really haven't gotten to in-game, and I don't know in-game all that well yet. I'm still kind of learning it. And then here's another Sorc build from Dots Gaming. I think he's the one that actually, I thought not Deltia, Dots I think is the one that used to be a big WoW gamer and switched over to this game. The one big thing I have discovered since I started playing this game, I've only been playing about a month, is that passives are basically the core of any build is going to be your passives. You're picking up skill lines specifically to get the passives that they have. So, for example, I made this guy a Dark Elf with the intent of making him a vampire, but I made him a Dark Elf so I could get the resist to fire damage. But you're gonna, on your caster tunes, you're gonna want to level all the passives for your light armor, assuming you're wearing light armor in your build. But that's the big thing, is the passives, and then figuring out what skills do what and how you want to control them. And once you hit 50 with a tune, you start getting champion XP or whatever it's called. Anyway, you level all over again and get champion points, and that's what this is. And this is confusing as well. But it's if you ever played Diablo, it's very reminiscent of Paragon points, and it's account wide. So every champion point that you have is for all your characters, and you can train each one uniquely. So the champion is going to be very similar to the Paragon in Diablo 3. Except it's broken up into about 9 different paths, I think. 12 different paths, something like that. If you have any specific questions, fire away. I'll try my best to answer them. Which faction did you start with? So depending on your faction, your main city's gonna vary. Whether you did Daggerfall or Aldenani, whatever it is, Dominion. Oops, wrong bar. So if you go to your character screen, yeah, so if you did High Elf, oh, I don't remember. So you're probably Aldenari Dominion, more than likely. Unless you have the Adventurers pack. So more or less the main storyline quest is more or less the same from what I can tell, regardless of which primary faction you are. But where the major cities and leveling areas will differ depending on what faction you chose. And by default, unless you own the adventure pack, whatever row that class is in or that race is in is the faction it's going to be in. You can't pick a race and a different faction. Now if you have the adventurer pack, you can. You can pick any race and put them in any faction. Which is kind of cool at some levels, but I think also adds to the confusion for a lot of people. But if you go to your character screen, the icon here will tell you what faction you're in. Like I'm in Ebonheart Pact. I'm personally not a fan of the whole ground target thing. It just seems very kludgy, I guess. Cool. Yeah, you'll want to join, as far as I can tell, you want to join all the guilds. All the NPC guilds, anyway. Not really. Jesus. They each have their own quest line as well that you can go through. Not sure if you get skill points for those or not, but I think you do. You'll also eventually find the Thieves Guild. Well, assuming you have the DLC, there's also Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood. There's also Undaunted, which you'll want once you hit level 10 or so. You'll want to find them. Really? God damn it. Yeah, there are a ton of quests. Once you get to 10, you can start doing dungeons, which I think are a lot more interesting than just running quest after quest after quest. But I have really enjoyed the storyline quests. The main quest line and the Fighters Guild, Mages Guild quests have been really fun so far. So, if you do here, you can go to Dungeon Finder, set yourself as damage or healer or tank, and then join the queue. I have found that playing as a DPS toon, sometimes it takes forever to actually get into a dungeon. There's just more DPS people than there are healers and tanks. And then sometimes you're completely wrong and you get in really quick. And someone declined the invite. Back in the queue. Come on. Whew. Personally, I think running dungeons over and over is more fun than doing the quests. Um, and if you got a group of people to play with, it's awesome. But if you're just doing pugs, it's a lot of downtime. Level 1 to 10 seem to be the most painful for me. After 10 it seems to get a lot more fun. At least that's my experience. And then once you get to 15 and get your 2 quick bars, I think that makes it more interesting as well. But 1 to 5 is kind of slow, especially when you don't know what you're doing. But if you just focus on the quest, you'll get through it pretty quickly. I wouldn't waste any time with crafting. At least not early on. It's just a waste of skill points, really. Not ultimately, it's not, but when you're trying to level your first toon, it's just an excess that you don't really need to waste points into. Several people I've talked to said to wait till your max level and then make a crafting toon. But it doesn't hurt to gather every resource you pass by either. That is, if you have ESO Plus and have the unlimited crafting bag.
You're new in town, aren't you? Yes, I'd recognize your face otherwise. What brings you to Sorcerer? Here to tour our idyllic plantations? Sample our red-rin wines? Or are you looking for something more stimulating? Like an exquisite gem, Sorcerer has many features, many angles. In truth, we have something for everyone. Looking to expand your mind? I can recommend someone to help you. Looking for someone to warm your bed? I can recommend someone for that too. Fascinating. Most people come to me asking how to get someone out of prison, not how to get someone in. There's an inebriated constable downstairs who will set you right. Just make sure you tell Kren I sent you. He and I, we had an arrangement. My, you're well informed. I like that. I can tell you Constable Murrell went missing a few days ago. Word is he ran afoul of some schooner dealers down in Mazinch. Murrell had a key to the prison. Find him, and he may let you borrow it. Perhaps I took a liking to your lovely eyes. Or perhaps I simply hate Marshal Polarin enough to make her life difficult. You choose. Oh, and if you change your mind about that entertainment, come look for me. I'll cut you a great deal. Any luck finding the lichen? We'll need to be quick if we want full potency. Perfect. You may have noticed an odor. It's subtle, barely noticeable in fact, but once I add it to this wickweed and quama shell solvent, ha-ha! The perfect pheromone for the common house cat.
Good morning. How's it going? Yeah, it's been kind of hectic. Well, my kids were here, and I spent a lot of time with them, and so I took the last couple of days and spent time with the wife.
That's probably a good thing.
That it is.
Surprise? He may have squeezed a few secrets out of me, but
Well,
he
she's
revealed
now
some
got me
facts
sucked
about
into Game of
himself along
Thrones.
the way.
Just finished
First,
season 2 the other day.
he's violently allergic to cats. Sprinkle this potion over the plants near his door, and the results should be
Yeah, it's done. Like,
dramatic.
binge watch it.
I just wish I could convince my wife to start playing this game.
Well, I don't know.
Handkerchief, you small
I
bastard.
think if
Kim watched me playing Skyrim for about a week, 2 weeks, and handed her my controller, and next thing I know, she had an account.
awesome. I think my wife. Damn it. I think my wife would play if the kid wasn't so young, but when he gets a little older, maybe.
Yeah. We don't have any kids at home anymore. I leave this a lot of time to do whatever research we enjoy.
Exactly.
Sometimes we end up still a little bit on here a little bit more than we should for neglecting other things that we enjoy. Yeah.
I'm absolutely guilty of that. On a positive note, over the holidays, I did get my healer warden to 50. Of course, now I don't know what to do with him because solo he's about worthless. And now that my kids are gone, they're not playing really.
Yeah, it's hard to play with solo. Sure.
Yep. I think I'm going to have to respec him as a magic damage person, and then just so I can get him up a little higher. But I do think I suck as a healer, but that's just me. I think it's more me.
Yeah, healing is definitely a different lifestyle for sure.
I find it. I've played a healer in other MMOs, and it's never been my thing. But I've been decent at it in other games. In this game, the mechanics just seem to make it really hard. And maybe that's just the warden's healing playstyle, or I don't know. But the whole that you can't target somebody and throw, Bob a heal when Bob needs a heal is just kind of seems weird to me.
Yeah, the group you're playing with can definitely make this sometimes difficult for those to heal.
Yeah. My kids aren't easy either.
There you are. Any luck finding the lichen? We'll need to be perfect.
I noticed that that guy he's just running good around all over the place. So suggest that they at least pay a little tighter together and get a lot better heals. Usually
What's going on out here?
Yep.
hey, could you at least stay on the same side of it?
God, tell me about it. We were doing one of the dungeons, trying to do some of the Undaunted quests, the dailies, whatever. And God, so first we did the Imperial Prison, I think it was. Yeah, we rage quit on that one. The problem was we had 3 of us and we needed a 4th, and half the time the 4th person you get is pseudo AFK half the time, or they're a jackass that just talks shit about, oh, your tank sucks or your healer sucks, Oh my God, it was ridiculous. Um, yeah, it was that day was a bad day. We did several dungeons, and we had some where a guy comes in and says, "Oh, you're a terrible healer. Let me heal instead." Okay, we'll go right ahead. And then he comes in. Then 20 minutes later, he says, "You guys aren't doing enough DPS for this. I'm out of here." Oh, thanks. Uh,
That was just...
One guy was
Did you
like,
see the look on his face? Ian's mercy. He certainly wasn't exaggerating about that allergy. What a buffoon!
like a farmer's vegetables farm. You can't be wearing that. That's tanking stuff. As I'm sitting
No.
there barely
As
being
much as I
able to
like to, never do his oath. Do only moderate harm to those who cross you. I brewed a tea that should alleviate his symptoms.
it's
You
crazy.
can give it to him, but only if he agrees to come out.
like, dude,
Then
maybe you
leave.
should let her tank it. She's actually tankier than you are.
Yep.
And you are the tank. Supposedly wearing the proper gear.
I have no issues with constructive criticism. If I'm doing something wrong and you see it and tell me, by all means. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm still learning the damn game. But some of the people are just assholes.
Did my opinion relent?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
thank
gonna find it.
goodness.
I've actually found a lot less of those sort of
Telegra, I wish to thank
We
you
could
for
even
that
try and pick up
most
the
efficacious speech.
2 DPS, whatever we can do.
Your alchemical skills yield impressive results.
Once in a great while, you
And
actually constructive one to
It
help.
was rude of me to malign your alchemical practice. I
High horse hat.
Yep. And so I've been playing MMOs on the PC for a long time. And
there's no reason for us to be at odds. We should try the quarter.
that's why I hate raiding in general, is the elitist assholes that tend to gravitate towards in-game raids. Since I've been playing
Of course.
Elder Scrolls,
Just the thing.
I've actually really had a lot of fun for the most part, with the leveling and the dungeoning and all that good stuff. But I can tell you, after playing with you guys in EVS versus just doing a random pug dungeon, I don't even want to queue if I'm not playing with at least 3 people. It's a world of difference.
Be seeing you, partner. Farewell.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good core group of people. The newer ones that are coming in, and it's growing pretty quick, actually. Newer ones that are coming in are picking up on that too. That's what is acceptable. Hey, quick side note. What's your good antivirus / whatever stuff, bro? You got 6 computers that would protect you from the gaming world.
I just use the Microsoft product. I don't use anything else, honestly. Yep, that's what I use. At work, that's what we use as well. Of course, we're using the enterprise version of it, but I've used over the years, working in IT, I've used McAfee, I've used Symantec. Those are the 2 big ones. Once upon a time, when I worked for GM and EDS, we used Inoculated, which is Computer Associates, I think is the name of the company, CA. I don't even know if that still exists. I haven't heard from CA in years, but
CA Technology's got a huge advertising.
I have found that the free one that comes with Windows is good enough. At least that's my experience, That obviously varies for different people.
Cool. That's what we currently have on the TV.
be back in just a minute. I'm going to run down and grab some coffee.
Yeah.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm on number 3. I overslept this morning. I was supposed to start streaming at 7, and I woke up at 8:30. Yeah, I overslept this morning a couple of hours. I was supposed to get up at 7. I was supposed to start streaming at 7, and I didn't wake up until 8:30. Some of these quests where they have you sneaking around places can be a real challenge. That's a tough one. I really enjoyed playing the healer when I was with a group. Solo, I just can't stand it. That's sad to say, but it's the truth. And I don't know that I would enjoy it in game, because that healer's not really my thing. Beyond that, I've enjoyed the Sork a lot. Trying to get her capped, or him, whatever it is, and then I don't know. I'm kind of torn between the Sork and the Nightblade. They're both around level 30 right now. I think I'm going to focus on the Sork when I'm playing solo, and if I can find a group, I think I'll switch to the Nightblade. Ultimately, what I think I'm going to do, at least for now, my short-term goal, is to get both of them capped and use my Nightblade primarily for PvP and the Sork primarily for PvE content, until I get a better grasp on the mechanics in the game, and then that may change, but I think that's where I'm headed right now. Yeah, my Warden's 50. CP 90, I think.
Yeah, I was working on getting probably that one up to 160. When you level out to 50, you go straight into in-game hero reach.
Yeah, but it's the healer, and it's painful.
Or one of them anyway.
Yeah, I think the Sork is my first goal. I'm going to get him to 50 and then to 160, and then I'll kind of reevaluate where I'm going. But right now, the Sork is definitely my main. I don't even know what those are. That's pretty sad.
My friend,
Early game.
I see Constable Greco found you. One of them. The warden, like,
Here, I gotta hide real quick. I can't. 1 second. Okay. All right, I'm good. Okay. So, total brutality.
Should either have that open or be real close to it. What that does though is allows you a healing every once per second or every time you crit.
And which one was that? Hardened Ward?
Surge.
Surge. All right.
Surge should be under
Oh, one I haven't unlocked yet. Of course.
So once that unlocks, that'll give you a sword for a way to heal. As long as you're doing damage, every time you get a crit, once per second, you get a nice heal. So you keep that active. Also, once it's morphable, you can morph it to power surge, and it gives you major sorcery for 20 seconds also too, increasing your damage numbers.
Okay.
So that's an important one that will help with survivability. And the other one is up in favorite summoning, I believe. I forget exactly.
Conjured Ward.
Yeah, starts out as Conjured Ward.
Yeah, and that one morphs, I think, to Hardened Ward.
Yeah, I typically go with Hardened. I forget exactly what the difference is for those two things. Hardened Ward gives you a larger shield for yourself. So with Hardened Ward, I end up with like a 21 to 23k shield for myself, and I typically don't run a pet build.
Yeah, I'm currently running a pet build, and I'm basing it off of Altcast's pet build. Um, I've enjoyed it so far. I don't know that I want to keep the pet though, because it adds an extra level of complexity. I mean,
Well, I actually got my pet through build farther through Alistair than I did any other build.
I've enjoyed the pet, but it's the having to tell it to go attack something or to get it focused on what you want. Just since some fights is just a little too much sometimes.
They actually will focus on whatever you are focused on.
Yep.
So
What I
what I found the most annoying about that is I would direct the pet somewhere, or he'd have somebody aggroed and held, and as soon as I attacked anything else, it'd leave them alone. There's nowhere to run.
right, exactly. And that's my frustration. I send him after the hardest mob to keep them off me, and then I take out one of the weaker mobs. Well, then of course he immediately turns and attacks the weaker mob, and then the bigger mob's beating on me.
Yep.
All in all, though, I have enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm not sure from a leveling standpoint which is easier, a pet build or a non-pet build, but for now I'm running the pet build. Some days I don't even know why I stream. I had 3 people watching me before I went and got coffee. Now I'm down to 0 again. So I'm taking it you've solved your disconnect problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at the router settings and ended up, I don't know, I looked through all kinds of stuff. I did have a graphics card with an update update. We did that, and when I started having issues with Discord, I totally reloaded Discord, and then everything stopped. So I'm not sure what's happening. My driver is. I'm on level 47 warden and under outgrown training armor. He's at 348 and died 4 times now.
That's how my day goes.
Interesting. Thinking maybe he was out of soul gems. I can target him. But as soon as I start picking him up, the targets. Oh, and down. Running around on the ground with the crossbow rifle. I haven't seen that one in a while. I used to see that clearly a lot. So my screen is still showing that he's dead laying on the ground.
Right.
He's actually alive and running around with his mouth all hinged on himself.
Yeah, I had one when I was playing with the kids 2 weeks ago, last week, whatever. We were in a dungeon and Garrett was under the floor the entire time, from my perspective. Never actually saw him. I just saw his little marker over his head running around on the ground.
Yeah, and typically if that's the case and he dies, then that means that they're going to pick him up. A lot of times you won't be able to heal or anything. Typically if you go different directions and come back together, that will finish.
Well, fortunately, he didn't die, and I think it stopped when we went through a door or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, going through a doorway will usually help it. Also, if you just clear the first half of the dungeon and head opposite directions when you come back together, you should be able to finish it. That one we get a lot, like several times a day sort of thing. Didn't like doing this little warden weapon. I'm actually pretty impressed with that tank configuration.
Playing him as a tank, I guess.
No, actually, setting him up for a variable carrying 5 medics, and it's got a tanky feel to it.
I rolled another warden while my kids were here as a stamina build. Hadn't really played him much.
Amount of damage, but it's got a nice burst. I don't have a lot of sustained damage.
Right. I rolled another warden while my kids were here as a stamina build. Hadn't played him much though.
I have a stam warden, I just never gotten working.
Yeah, that's about. I think mine's about 10. I struggle with my kids in that, you know, they don't always want to play at the same time. And so anytime we play a multiplayer game, I end up with 75 characters. One to play with myself, one to play with them, one to play with one of them, one to play with the other one, which is, for somebody like me who's used to just playing a game and enjoying myself, that makes it very frustrating because I feel like I never get anywhere because I got 75 tunes.
Yeah, I've got store favors for, excuse me. Try to run all the time.
That's awesome. I'm working my way through Vardenville now, knocking out quests and picking up all the sky shards. I'm going to try to get all the lore books while I'm here too, but I don't know that I'll get all the lore books. I was hoping I'd hear from my kids with them wanting to play, but I doubt it. I haven't heard from them since they left last week. But that's how it usually goes.
Yeah.
They come down, we play a game, they have a blast, they leave, and they never play the game again. That's been my experience. I spend a small fortune buying multiple copies of games so we can all play together, and then they play for a week or two, and then that's the end of it. Where do you get steel at? Is that a resource node like everything else?
High iron.
Ah, high iron, okay.
High iron refinement. So, yeah, it's the same exact resource nodes that you're getting.
Right. Yeah, I found those. Yeah, I went to do my crafting writs this morning, and I ran out of steel, and I was like, well, crap. I don't even remember ever picking up steel, although I've been doing stuff for it for a while. On the days I have time, I try to log in every day and do my horse upgrade on every tune, and then do the crafting writs on my 3 crafting tudes. I only managed to get the crafting writs done maybe 3 or 4 days a week.
Better than a lot of people.
Yep.
So much to do.
They do crafting right on the
Ultimately, what I ended up doing after much debate and many attempts and restarts is ultimately ended up with one person that does all of the crafting, blacksmithing, clothing, and woodworking. And then I have another tune that's doing provisioning, and then my Sork is doing enchanting and alchemy. I don't know if that's the most efficient method, but that's what I ended up with.
find Mela? Were you able to get him out?
That's the reason I have
Shaw's bones, he's a stubborn one. Well, let's make sure he doesn't suffer in vain, eh? Palaran's gotten sloppy since Mela's capture. A combination of... I did some snooping of my own
Yep.
while you were gone. According to Constable Craig, the front gate...
But in order to do that, I had to do a lot of stuff.
Yep.
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. Kim spread her dot across two characters. Going ahead and leveling them both out.
My warden is my... Damn it. My warden is my weapon and armor crafter. And then my tank, which I really haven't played, I think he's still level 9. He's my provisioner. Actually anxious to play him, but I want to get the Sork up first.
saw the judge prowling the streets just this morning.
Mullet's doubled. You said you captured him. You said you broke his legs.
What if he's not really a man? What if he's a vampire?
He's not a vampire. Stop sniveling.
Enough. I've dealt with the judge.
Your informants are wrong. Let's move on to more pressing issues, like how we move forward.
Smear my honor. I'll have your head. Never take me alive.
We caught these three trying to slip away. Should have seen their faces. It's a big risk arresting Saran's most powerful landowners. I'm hoping you've got the evidence to make it worthwhile. Where's Marshal Flown? Resisted, eh? I had a feeling it might go that way. Halaran was happy to send other people to prison.
I'm currently level 30 on this guy. I do have a level 50 warden as well.
To the inside of a cell, but these three will, for at least a while. With Halaran dead, command falls to the senior officer. For now, that's, well, that's me. I'll send constables out to the plantations to liberate the slaves. In the meantime, I've got to take this evidence to House Redoran. Oh, Mela. Well, I took a hard look at the evidence. Far as I can tell, this was just one big misunderstanding. Kren and I released him just before we set out.
I would agree with that.
His wounds, no doubt.
It's not that bad if you have a group to play with. I leveled my warden with my my two teenage kids, and the three of us had a blast. But yeah, when I'm playing by myself, the grind is slow and painful. It's not as painful as other MMOs I've played, I don't think, but it can be painful. Yeah, the healers are rough. My warden's a healer, and that's the one that's 50. And while I would rather be playing him, soloing as a healer is unbearable. At least in my opinion. And since everybody in my guild is more or less offline at the moment, I'm playing my Sorc.
It's good to see you again, my friend. Forgive me for not rising to greet you. It is a beautiful day in Sula, and I believe I'll sit for a bit longer. A few months, perhaps. I jest, of course. Today's victory was worth a few broken bones. Yes, but I do so. Ah, look there. Fruits of your labor.
Alright.
Stay in line and keep those mouths shut, Switz, or I'll throw you in prison without your clothes.
even though it is painful to level, I've really enjoyed the game, to be completely honest. I am looking forward to getting into more of the Cyrodiil PvP, though not with my healer. I went out there and did a little bit with the healer with my kids in a guild group. Had a lot of fun. And then I've been out there with, I got a Nightblade that's 30 as well. And that was fun. But I just got to get them, got to finish level them so I can actually compete a little bit and not just die all the time. I'm going to have to bail here in a little bit, about another half hour or so for a bit. Wife's got to work on her car. Yeah, and that's my life. I do the dishes, she fixes the cars. It's fair to me because I don't know jack shit about cars. No, she doesn't. Not that I'm not going to be playing while she's working on the car, I just got to swap computers. I'm using quite a few add-ons. 1 second. This will probably be the easiest way to go through it. So add-on selector is one I've added. It allows you to swap your add-ons. I'll be right back in just a minute, Furion. Sorry, I had multiple people talking to me at once. I can't answer your question. So add-on selector is I have not used yet, but I got it because it allows you to turn add-ons on and off dynamically, more or less, as you transition from one role to another. So for example, you're getting ready to go run a raid, you have a raid specific add-on, you can enable that then so that it's not running all the time, in theory to free up resources. My UI is advanced UI. Alpha gear lets you save your gear in quick bar slots. I've played with it a little bit, I haven't quite mastered it yet. Auto category does categories in your loot. So if you look at your inventory, that's what does the categories for low level items, poison, etc. These expandable categories. Pretty awesome, I thought. Guild store is supposed to help you filter the guild store better. I haven't used it much, I haven't done much trading, but that's what it's for. Azura allows you to move any UI object around your screen. I haven't played with that much. Binder, if I'm not mistaken, allows shares your keybinds across all tunes. So if you set, like for example, I have F1 to swap between my quick bars, F1, F2, F3, F4. Keybinder allows that to be set so that it applies to all characters. Essentials. Harvest map is awesome. It's what shows you where all the resources are everywhere. It's awesome. Dustman, not necessarily essential, but it's a huge quality of life. What it does is when you go to a merchant, it will automatically sell anything that's been flagged as junk, and it will automatically repair all your gear. I wouldn't run without it. Advanced UI, absolutely a must in my opinion. Lore books, sky shards, and if you're going to do crafting, Trait Buddy or Craft Store. They're both awesome. They both have some little differences. I'm actually running both because of different functionalities between them. But those are the big ones. Provision team formation I only use for healing purposes because it allows me to see which guy is the tank when they get all split up and it's hard to figure out who's who and I'm trying to heal. Potion maker a necessity if you're going to do alchemy. And PvP alerts if you're going to PvP. Those are really the big ones. The rest are just quality of life stuff. Advanced UI. Destinations, that's the other one. Destinations, lore map, and sky shards are what give you the mini map with all your different icons. Your shows you all your sky shards everywhere where there's a book, and then harvest map gives you all of your chest locations. You can also, it'll show you all your crafting components. If you're looking for woodworking, it'll add all those to the map. Like water and herb, adds all those, etc. I leave most of them disabled unless I'm looking for something specific. If I'm not looking for something specific, it's basically the heavy sacks and all of the chests. Sorry about that. Somebody was asking me a question in stream and I was trying to answer and you were talking and I can't I can't do both. So anyway, the wife's got to work on her car, so here in a little bit I'm going to head down to kill my stream and head downstairs and switch to the laptop. I can't really stream from the laptop, but I can still play while I'm hanging out with the kid. And I just realized I said all that and never keyed my mic. That's awesome. Anyway, I'm going to have to bail in about 30 minutes so the wife can go work on her car, at which point I'm going to head down, stop my stream, and head down and fire up the laptop and play from the laptop. Have you found any way to copy all of your settings back and forth between multiple computers for the game? Or is it just copy the Elder Scrolls directory from documents?
There is a program that will auto do that for you. I don't recall which one it is though, that one.
Ah, I will have to look for that. All right.
from an experienced player to sort of narrow it down to what you favorite.
Yeah, I went through a bunch of videos on the best add-ons, and I have gone through quite a few, and have tried some, liked them, found ones that were better, swap back and forth. But yeah, I'll take a look at that. That's awesome. You didn't hear a word I said, did you?
I did not.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. I'm so used to just leaving my mic cute, I forget that when I'm streaming I don't. So anyway, I was saying, thank you. I've actually gone through quite a few add-ons, testing them out. I've watched several YouTube videos on various add-ons and what they're good for and whatnot. And I've tried some, liked them, found ones that were better, swapped them out, etc. But yeah, thank you. I'll go through that here in a little bit.
Yeah, I did the same thing with this. I looked them over, read the description, ones that I relatively good right away.
Yeah, I've got some that I haven't used yet, but I believe I will need later, and I just leave them there just in case until I get there. I've got raid notifier, which I'm assuming will come in handy when I get to raiding, but I haven't done any raids, so you know it's there, but I haven't used it.
It's pretty much mandatory.
So far, I think my favorite ones is Advanced UI and Dustman. Dustman is awesome.
Not familiar with Dustman. I run AUI though.
Dustman, basically anything you have flagged as junk, it will auto sell when you go to a merchant and auto repair all your gear. And you can set rule sets so it will auto flag various items you pick up as junk.
That could definitely be handy.
Yeah, I didn't think much about it when I read the description and I tried it out and realized, oh man, that's a huge quality of life improvement.
Yeah, if you're doing any money questing for sure.
Yep. And then of course Harvest Map is awesome as well.
I have heard good things about Harvest Map.
That's probably true. I keep it trimmed down to just the things I want to see. So like generally when I'm just running around and questing, I don't have harvest nodes highlighted. I just have it showing me everywhere there's a heavy sack and a chest. Alright, man. I'll see you in a bit. Yeah, sorry. I'll see you in a bit. Well, it's time for me to call it a day, guys. Go clean out my inventory, and then I gotta bail. You guys have a good day. I will be back. I might be back this evening. I'm not sure yet.